Well guys, I guess this is a moment in history for the channel. What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Channel Anderson and welcome to the newest ride for the channel. So what you see here is a 2008 ML63 AMG. I'm the third owner and it's currently sitting at 122,000 miles. It's all original. It doesn't really have any modifications other than some tint and no repaints, no crashes on the history, and it has good dealer service all the way up until about 2019. The car was originally from Vancouver, Canada, so a little bit north from me. Seems to have been taken care of throughout its life. The car only has a few exterior flaws that I found, one being this trim. You can see this coating that they use on the W164s is kind of notorious for peeling. This side is peeling, the other side looks perfect. So you can see the differences of what it looks like originally and what it looks like after it starts peeling. This aluminum side step trim was punched in a little bit, so it's about $150 for a used one, or I'll try to fix it myself, probably just pick up a used one. The last exterior flaw is this little aluminum trim piece. I'll try to find this individually, and if I can't, I can try to reshape this one or see what I can do. But underneath the car is very clean. Don't know if you guys will be able to see, but I can try to show you guys some shots here. So here's a look at the underneath. You're not gonna be able to see a ton right now, but like I said, it's very clean. Especially having lived in Canada for a while, they do use some salt on the roads up there, but it was obviously taken care of, and it's very clean underneath. Has the original wheels. I'm gonna end up changing these lug bolts out. As you can see, they're pretty corroded. Tires that are on right now are some nice Continentals, and they are Continental Extreme Contacts. They're dated for 2020, so they're still fairly new, and they have great tread left on them, so that's a big bonus. The brake rotors do need to be replaced. I have those already ordered. I found a pair of Brembos for $160, so can't really beat that. Inside of the car is very clean. No tears or rips or anything. All nice and fresh. Got the baby seat back there right now. It is optioned with lots of things standard, especially comparing it to our W163 M155. Show you guys the trunk real quick, and then we'll go ahead and check out the engine bay where all the magic is. So it came with the factory rubber mat here, or not factory, but WeatherTech replacement. Has a nice privacy shade for the rear, and yeah, everything about it is clean. It has all the original equipment, first aid kit, spare tire, tools, etc. Close it, we'll press this button. That'll close up. And here's the beast itself, the M156 legendary engine. First engine the AMG was able to kind of design and produce on their own in partnership with Mercedes. Hand built, of course. This one was blessed by the hands of Sluis Zuzovic. So as you're gonna see in this video, we took care of some kind of major Achilles heels for these engines. Now granted, those things are kind of widely known, but overall, for what you get and what you pay for, this is a lot of engine for the money. 500 horsepower, naturally aspirated V8. And it's really strong, besides, you know, the few things that we're gonna talk about. So we just got done replacing the head bolts, the cam lifters, cam adjuster plates from 63 Everything, 63 Everything hardware for the front plate covers, ARP, cam phaser bolts, and I think that's about it. So we just did basically a top end refresh. You're gonna see everything in this video, but taking care of those things, it should be pretty stout for a long time to come. We also replaced the injectors, which you'll see a bit. And just overall, I think if you maintain these things correctly, just like any car, they will treat you well for a long time, and you'll have a lot of fun along the way, because this motor is an absolute blast to drive. All right, so here it is again, one last look from the outside, and then I'm gonna hop inside because it's freezing cold out, and I'll kind of update you guys with a few things you're gonna see in the video. Ooh, it's cold out there. It's about, I don't even know, 27 degrees right now. So anyways, before we start this video, I really just wanted to take some time here to thank a few people that were involved along this process that really helped me out buying the car, getting this project done. So I'm just gonna mention those people now, and I'll pop up their info or IG bios or something on screen so you guys can go check them out. Number one, Ian, aka Stock AMG and Z06 on Instagram. You were a huge help, my man. I thank you so much. So much knowledge for the M156. He's a Mercedes tech himself. Used to work with legit street cars, interesting fact, and really provided a ton of help as I was going through this project. Behind the scenes, you guys didn't see, of course, but me and him were messaging back and forth about a lot of questions on my side and just things to help me get through this project, which is a big one, and especially for me being brand new to this platform, it was just a huge help. So big thank you again. Thank you as well to 63 Motorsports or 63 Everything. You were a huge help, and your parts are a great source for people in the M156 world. If you haven't already heard of them, I don't know how you haven't if you have an M156, but if you do and you haven't, go check them out. Buy parts that are necessary for your car. They're very well built. Customer service was top notch, A++, and just very helpful throughout the process as well. So thank you. Number three, Tony from Race IQ. You guys know Race IQ is one of the sponsorships, but Tony and I talk a lot about cars in general, and just really appreciate you for helping me out, giving me some pointers on what's a good buy and what to look out for. For people who don't realize, Tony is an absolute OG in this game. He's been around for a long time, and he's done a lot for these platforms, Mercedes, and a lot of other vehicles as well. So just important to show love for people like that in this world, because they're far and few between, and people as genuine as him are hard to come around in general. But it's just awesome to have his support, and I'm so happy to be part of Team Race IQ. So thank you, Tony. Really appreciate your help on this one. Other mentions as well, Sam AMG on IG and YouTube. Super helpful. I've been watching your videos already on the ML63, getting some pointers here and there for things to look out for and things that I've been taking care of on the car. We were also messaging back and forth since a few months ago when I started the process of trying to find one of these, and you were very helpful throughout that process. So thank you. Another thank you to add to the list is Dave Jennis. I'll pop up his Instagram and his C63 track build right here. For those that don't know him, he's basically building a C63 track car, fully wide-bodied, all official, looks like a DTM car, and he's building some insane parts for the M156 himself, billet parts, and just has a ton of experience with the platform. He's the one that I got the ARP bolts from. I was originally asking him just for the dimensions of the bolts. He said, hey, I have these that I took off of this motor after using for only 500 miles because I'm making billet ones. So he sent them to me for a deal really fast, and I really appreciate you for doing that. And just in general, really appreciate all the things that you're doing with the cars. Ton of cool stuff. Go check them out for sure. All right, and last but not least, the most important thank yous out of all of them is to my wife and son for being so patient while I took so much time to finish this job up. And the biggest thank you goes to my stepdad, Mike. Thank you so much for all your help on this. If you guys don't know, he's the one that I've really got all my mechanical knowledge from for the most part, and just has given me confidence over the years to be able to wrench on these cars and kind of dive into these big projects even without experience. So he's a big source of confidence for me tackling a giant job like this, because I just know with all the funny and crazy jobs that we've been through working on the cars, we can get through anything, and this was another piece of proof towards that. So yeah, this is a legendary one, and we're cementing our Mercedes legacy one by one, Mike. So love you, dude. Thank you so much for all you've done, and thank you so much for your help on this project. It made it a lot more fun to be working with somebody that you enjoy being around rather than working by myself, which probably would have been grueling and boring. So yeah, it was cool, and thank you. So with all the thank yous out of the way, I wanted to give you guys kind of a clear-cut picture of what you're going to see in today's video. So first off, just as a forewarning, this is not a step-by-step, one-to-one DIY on how to replace your head bolts. I wasn't interested in doing that, to be honest, because this is such a big job and it requires a lot of research, a lot of learning time, a lot of practice, and just being methodical and detailed as you work. That said, I do think that what I provided and what I try to cover in this video will still be helpful and can still be a rough guide on your way through this project if you do decide to take it on someday. If not, then it's just a chance for you to see the inner workings of the M156 and see a little bit more on how a job like this is completed. So again, in this video, you're going to see the teardown, you're going to see the head bolts replaced, you're going to see the cam lifters replaced, the cam adjuster plates, and the hardware along the way, and a bunch of other things, spark plugs, fuel injectors. So yeah, it was a 3-weekend project, which would have been a 1-weekend project if I had everything I needed to get going on the project in the first place. So if you are thinking about taking this on, my one recommendation I can give you is have all the parts needed that would be required if you were going to replace everything. Even if you don't replace some of the things, you can always return them, but having them on hand will make it so that you don't have to wait an extra week or two for parts to get here. So yeah, all this being said, enough talking. Let's go ahead and get into it. It's a long one. It's probably my longest video I've ever had. So enjoy, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Starting to pull things apart because we're getting ready to do the head bolts starting tomorrow morning. So the car is going to be in the garage overnight, so it can be nice and cold when we're starting tomorrow. I did get new injectors for it. These are a $90,000 mile change out, and should probably do them before that on the M156 to be safe. I'll take care of that tonight, and then tomorrow we'll start unbuttoning everything to do the head bolts. Definitely try to share helpful tips with you guys, because I don't think there are many videos for the M156 in general, and it's going to be the same for the most part, but there isn't one of somebody doing this job on the ML63 from what I could find. So we are going to be doing the 1x1 method. See where it says 07 right there? It says 8/10/07. So 07, these are when the injectors are from. This is a 08, so that makes sense. So yeah, definitely need to be changed. All right guys, back intake tunnel, or whatever you want to call this, Y-split, is off. Really easy to access everything, luckily. Taking all this off is easier than the M113 actually, so it's pretty nice. Wasn't much of a hassle to get it off. There is a vacuum line that connects right to the nipple right here on this little, I think this is like a purge canister. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it definitely released some pressure once I pulled that off. And probably want to inspect this while you have this out, but mine looks really good, still very supple. I know that the intake manifold was off, and I don't know if it was replaced or if it was just serviced. but I did see in the service history that it had been removed recently at the dealer. So one thing to look for is if you see any flaking, since these are kind of a strange material from the factory. It's like a magnesium mix and they can corrode, but this one doesn't look too bad, so that's a good sign. All right, next step was undoing the 17mm fuel line right there, and handy enough, who knows if somebody left this here to hang the fuel line, but there was a zip tie hanging off one of the vacuum lines right there. Kind of seems like that's what it's for, but I don't know. Anyways, yeah, next steps will be, I already undid this connector, by the way. There are 4, look like maybe T27 or so bolts. And from watching Tazo's video, he said it's easier if you pull up the fuel rail and then undo the clips, or you can undo the clips while they're still on there right now. You also need to cut the zip ties. There are 6 of them. Just cut the actual zip tie, don't cut like the actual holder for the zip tie. All right, continuing on, the injectors are all unseated now. They're definitely looking dirty, especially the driver's side. These ones are pretty black. Can't even see the O-ring on some of these, but it wasn't too tough. The driver's side came up pretty easy. The passenger side was still stuck pretty good. But yeah, I just need to snake it out. Watch out for this vacuum line running over the side. And I gotta unplug all the clips still. But yeah, try to snake it out of here. All right, well, here's the state of the injectors. Definitely not in very good shape. And definitely very good, we are changing these out. If you guys don't know, I think I mentioned it earlier, but the common thing is if you don't change these in time, chances are one of them can get stuck open and you can end up hydrolocking your motor, which the M156 is strong, but you know, these are the kind of things that you want to take care of to make sure that it stays strong and can have the best chance of a long life. So this is one of those things you got to take care of. I mean, it's only every 90,000. I would do them, or I plan on doing them every 70,000 or 80,000 at most, but just easy thing. So buy them once from FCP and you don't have to buy them anymore. So yeah, let's go ahead and get these changed out. There's basically just these little silver tabs. Basically just slide those forward right now towards my hand and then pull the injectors out. Just make sure when you are reseating everything that put some lubricant, maybe some silicone based lubricant on the O-rings, and yeah, should be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these out and swap them over. All right guys, I was cleaning out the injector ports for a little while, and now I'm on to cleaning these up and swapping over the new ones. I'm gonna use a little bit of white lithium grease on the O-rings to make sure they seat good, and yeah, just get these swapped out and plug back up. All right, just like that, all the new ones are in, greased up, ready to go. And we can go ahead and throw this one back in. Here's 7 of the old ones. One of the other ones is in one of these boxes. But yeah, they are, I mean, not like terrible, but definitely should be changed out according to service intervals and other M156 owner experience. So, c'est la vie. All right guys, everything is buttoned back in besides the fuel line right now. I might just leave it here for tonight and go back in the morning. I just remember whenever we're going to crank it over after all this surgery to let it cycle a few times so the fuel can get back up into the injectors. But I guess we'll leave it there for tonight. All right, so real quick before we dive into everything over here, I just want to show you guys what I have as far as parts to go in. So number one, this is the M156 timing tool set. This is pretty much like the cheapest version that I found online, but had good reviews, and I'm gonna test it, of course, before we actually get going. But this is a flat locking bar that goes on the back side of the camshafts. This is the bridge tool that goes at the front of both the camshafts, and then this is the timing tool that can be flipped for left or right. So this is made by DP Tool, and I mean, it seems pretty good, but pretty good you don't know until you actually try it out and measure. And then this is to hold the gears, and you can also use M5x8 bolts, but some of the cam adjusters, I don't really know if it's based on years or manufacturer time or whatever, some of them on the holes on the back where you can lock this, like where the pin goes on this, some of them are threaded, some of them are not. So hopefully the ones that have are threaded. If they are not, then I kind of have to do this one at a time or try to lock it in place some other way. So yeah, fingers crossed on that. And then moving on to actual parts. So these are the crush washers for behind the cam adjusters. Be careful when you pull them out, because they are something that could fall into the timing section or the timing chain area of the engine. These are for both of the cam adjuster plates, or not plates, but covers. Got some assembly lube, a 55 torque socket, has flat head on it, not rounded. So that's for the actual old style bolts to come out. 27 millimeter for a 1/2 inch drive. And this is for the crank pulley. So this is to spin the engine. So these are L-ring bolts. Now, you can find these in a lot of different places online, but Rock Auto had the best deal. They were like 37 bucks for the pack. So it's pretty good. And you can tell these have like a coating on the bottom side of these. So it's kind of up to you if you want to use some type of thread sealant or not. So yeah, you make your own call, or you use what you're used to, I guess. And then last but not least, underneath we have a new driver's side gasket for the valve covers. The passenger side is brand new pretty much, because we just had the PPI done and they replaced it when they were doing the PPI. So I'll just reuse that one. And if it ends up leaking, then I will change it out. So yeah, it's time to start this. This is going to be a big job, but something that will give me ultimate peace of mind after done, at least. And it will also allow further inspection of everything, the intake cams especially, and all of the cam buckets. So that'll be cool. And while we're in here, if I notice that those things are worn, then I might end up placing a rush order for cam buckets, or if I notice one of the adjusters are worn or something like that, then I can get those plates from 63 Everything. So we'll see. I guess it all depends on what we find when we get in here. But yeah, enough talking. I guess it's time to get moving. All right, guys, quick update. Got the passenger side valve cover off. Wasn't too bad. There's a few tricky bolts, the further ones back here, just because you don't have much space. So use a flex joint or whatever, swivel joint, and should be no problem. Besides that, all of them are pretty easy to reach. This one's a little tricky too. And watch out for this bracket that is holding kind of the oil dipstick and some of this wiring. So once you get the wiring off, push it down. It's a little tight at the back, but you can sneak it past there at the bottom of the cylinder head. And once it's out of the way, the valve cover is easy to pull off. So yeah, now begins our adventure of pulling this front cover off, and then yeah, just one step at a time, going for it. All right guys, next step complete. The cam adjuster cover is off. Mike has joined the party and is working on driver's side. Almost done pulling that side off. Yeah, so once you get both these off, then still need to drain the coolant, probably pull the spark plugs, and then get the belt off and get things ready to spin the motor over. All right, we got both sides off. This side was a bit tricky, just with all the lines in the way. And we discovered our first unknown fun thing, which is looks like a mouse had been in here and chewed up a little bit of the wiring. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this part of the wiring is chewed up down here, so we need to figure out a plan to fix it. Probably have to chop it and connect it somehow. This is one of the connectors for the cam adjusters, so there's always something unknown. That's the one thing we found so far, but everything else seems to be in place. So I'm gonna drain the coolant, I'll figure out a plan for this, pull the spark plugs, and then we can start trying to take the belt off and turn the motor over. All right, there is the wiring that we were talking about. We got all the sheathing off. So yeah, just one of the wires was chewed by something at one point, but it's still solid and it wasn't grounding on the other one, so that's why it wasn't causing issues. But who knows if it would have down the road, and it would have been a very hard thing to try to figure out, I'm sure. All right guys, making more progress. Coolant is draining right now. There's a petcock, like normal red plug that you spin with a screwdriver, and then I attached a little 3/8 hose to the little nipple underneath it to just direct straight into the bucket. It's still dripping a little bit from the connections. It's not that tight, but it works. So we'll let this pour out while we're still working up top. Mike just pulled the spark plugs. Looks like somebody put Bearer plugs in here at some point. They're platinums, but I know this is supposed to have iridium in it, so I might try to call around and see if I can get some other plugs. I was hoping it would have the NGKs in it still, but yeah, I'll see if we can get some other ones. Otherwise, I'll order those up. Not that hard to get to, luckily. So, all right, guys, we are getting the timing situated. It took a while to get that to line up on 40 degrees exactly, because there's a lot of tension right at the last like few millimeters, but Mike got it pretty close, pretty dead on. This side lines up perfectly with all the tools, the front bridge and the back flat bar and the front timing tool. This side lines up well with the front timing tool, the front bridge tool, but the back lock is just off by, I don't even know, a tiny bit. So I spoke with Ian, goes by Stock AMG and Z06 on IG. Big shout out to him for all the help he's been providing. But he recommended what I was kind of thinking of what the best plan would be, was locking everything down in the front, undoing these once we get to the side, and then when we're reinstalling the cams, making sure the camshafts lock with that back plate before we tighten them down and are ready to put the cam adjusters back on. So we're locking this side down, and then we will be starting the process of pulling these out. If you are doing this, don't forget, lock these backlash wheels on the cam adjusters. You can either use M5x8 bolts or the little tool that comes in the kit that grabs the gears. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. All right guys, we got the cam adjusters off. A little bit tricky, there's kind of some tension on them, but you just have to make sure they fit perfectly out of the grooves and they'll come out. Be really careful with the diamond washers. Mike was trying to ruin our weekend and drop one, but
Luckily I saw it sitting there. And now I'm gonna take some pictures of this and kind of make sure I know where everything's gonna go. But it's not that difficult because, well, I shouldn't say not that difficult, but this kind of is your safety net once you put the cams back in, because that can only fit when the cams are in the right position, really. So yeah, we can take this off now, and I think after that you can take, I know the bridge isn't really under tension, and then you have to take from the inside out. You do 90 degree turns, loosening each one of these back and forth. This side again is under a lot of tension, this side supposedly is not. So yeah, I'm gonna take pictures now of everything so we know exactly where everything goes. I was gonna worry about numbering all of these, but they actually are numbered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So here we go, next steps. All right, trying to make a decision on whether or not to rush order some lifters. That back one right there, you see the line on it, that's the only one on the top, and then the same, it's kind of the same thing on the exhaust side. The rest of them all look good, have even wear, can't feel anything with a fingernail in any of them. This one I can barely kind of feel something with a fingernail. The bottom one doesn't feel, I can't really feel anything on the other one, but yeah, what'd you think? All right guys, we are at a kind of hurdle right now with a decision to make. I mean, we're gonna end up swapping out the head bolts right now, but it's either we're gonna finish this job up tomorrow, or I'm gonna be waiting another week for some cam buckets. If you can see, yeah, you can see it there. These back two cam buckets have that line going across them, so they're a bit worn. I can't necessarily feel it, like it's not significant feeling it with my finger, but I still can, I think. I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell, but I do know that when you start to see that line like that, it basically means that things are not wearing exactly how they should be. So I don't know, do these look good, do they not? I'm trying to get some opinions from some friends right now, and that'll kind of help me make a decision on whether or not I should place an order to get these cam buckets here. All right guys, well, good news. The bolts look fantastic. Well, this bolt looks fantastic. It's the only one we've taken out so far, but looks pretty much brand new. So, I mean, this is a crapshoot. It's not really any way to tell if the shape of your bolts, and nobody really knows how many were affected, but it's a pretty like widespread issue that's, I don't know, scary enough to me to warrant doing this. But I mean, this bolt would have lasted forever probably, so who knows. All right, we are on the 8th one being tightened right now. This is the back bottom corner on the passenger side. Definitely some corrosion, but I don't know how intense it is. Doesn't look too bad, but yeah, keeping it going. Breaking them is pretty scary. I mean, the first time you do it, but basically we have a long breaker bar that we're using. What is that thing? Oh, we're putting this on the breaker bar. Mike's kind of holding it down on the head of it, and then I'm spinning it. And when you first turn it, it walks a little bit, like it feels like smooth, and then it fights again, and then there's a big kind of click, and then after that it'll turn smoothly. So when you hit that kind of brake click, don't get scared, but it is scary the first time you do it. But once you do it a couple times, you get the hang of it, and then it comes out fairly easy. And when we're putting them back in, Mike came up with a good idea of counting the clicks on the ratchet so that we know basically 10 clicks is a quarter turn, or like 90 degrees. So he holds it down again, I'll spin the breaker bar, and then we just count how many clicks back to the original spot we started. So if it's like 6 clicks, then we know we got to go the length of 4 more. And now we just do that 3 times for the 390 degree. And yeah, that's it. All right, guys, we are done with the passenger side head bolts. There's all the new ones in there. You get the idea. And here are the old ones. All in all, they look very good. There's maybe 2 or 3 of them that have any. This is the worst one, but I mean, even that one is not terrible. So yeah, it's really your call if you're gonna do these, but I guess the best thing to pay attention to is kind of the service history of the car. But again, it's such a crapshoot. I don't know, like, there's no way to really know. Some of them go, some of them don't. So in my case, peace of mind was, I'm much happier doing this than not, because I'm too OCD about my cars, and I would be, I don't know, I might think it into existence if I didn't ever take a look at these and see what condition they were at. So I'm happy to be doing them, and I think the smart move while I'm in here is to do the lifters. So I'm going to order them up, and we will complete this job next weekend. We're going to wrap it up for tonight. It's around 7:45 right now. I started at like 10:30 this morning, and we took probably an hour and a half break in between then. So what's that? 1, 2, maybe 3, almost 3 hours in the morning. Took a hour and a half break, probably started back up at 2 o'clock. So I'd say we have 7-8 hours today, definitely. And that's just on the one side, and we're definitely taking our time because I'm brand new to this. I'm brand new to this motor in general. So yeah, it's a learning process, but I feel really good and really happy that we took this on, and it's really cool to experience this motor and get to work on it like this. So we'll leave it there. See you in a week, you beautiful beast. All right, guys, time travel. What is a week for me was merely seconds for you. Wish it was seconds for me, but anyways, let's keep going. I have some goodies to show you guys. Luckily, everything got here very fast, very smooth, with some thanks to some very special people. So I'll shout out them as we go through these parts here. All right, so parts needed to finish the job, well, at least properly, because this turned into a while you're in there type of project. Number 1, FCP Euro came in clutch as usual. These are SLS cam buckets. These have the upgraded coating basically on the top surface. I can show you guys a little closer later on when I get them out of the packaging. And I figured rather than buy these locally for more than I would have paid off of FCP Euro and without lifetime warranty, might as well just throw these in the cart as well. These are the factory NGK laser iridiums. This is what was supposed to be in the vehicle. Over here, 2 very special shout outs. Number 1, 63 Motorsports. Thank you for your help. These are the cam adjuster plates. They're stage 1, which is much harder than factory and shouldn't have the issue with the pin basically wearing down the plate, especially for a stock power range. So they make like a stage 2, stage 3 as well, but those are really for higher output applications or boosted applications. So yeah, great company, amazing customer service. There was an issue with like the shipping at first. They had partly the wrong address, so they took care of it as soon as I contacted them and just asked them, and also, you know, refunded me a little chunk of change too. So I really appreciate that. You guys are awesome. Look forward to
picking up some more pieces from you guys down the road for some upgrades. And last but not least, shout out to David Jenis. He has an amazing C63 track build. I'll pop it up on screen right now. And just a really cool guy. Not just an amazing build that he has. He is an amazing engineer or builder, developer, parts developer himself. He has like a billet engine basically in the works. He's billet camshaft adjusters, all kinds of crazy stuff, and he does some serious track work. So definitely go check out his IG. He's got some really cool stuff going on. But these are the ARP cam phaser bolts, which connect the cam adjuster to the camshaft. And I just figured, you know, I could have ordered the factory ones, but they were like $13 a piece off FCP Euro, or they were like $30 a piece from the dealership. So these are about 160 off of WiseTech, or maybe directly from ARP. I don't know. ARP didn't have the exact stats on these because they just make them to order from the companies who do sell them. But David was kind enough to hook it up because these were actually used for about 500 miles on his track car. But these are basically a lifetime bolt. They're not a torque to yield bolt, so you don't have to worry about replacing them every single time. So I figured, oh, I might as well use them so that, you know, if I want to upgrade camshafts later down the road or whatever else, I don't have to worry about replacing the bolts every single time. So nice, no torque to yield, like I said. It's like 85 foot-pounds. So yeah, I'm excited about those. 12-point, 3/4 socket, I believe, but we'll verify later. And then little thing that we needed was just a 1/2 inch, or not a 1/2 inch, sorry, a 1/4 inch torque wrench. So this is for the what's it called, cam bridges, or what are these called? I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, cam bridges and cam caps, that's what I meant to say. And then a few other things that have a, you know, a smaller torque setting that was just too low for our 3/8 or 1/2 inch drive. So yeah, we are going to, what do I want to do first? I don't know. Probably get the buckets in and then tighten down the camshafts. And once I have those in place, then I can start working on rebuilding the camshaft adjusters. I've lined everything up, by the way. This is exhaust side, this is intake side. This is a piece, I don't know if I showed you guys that, but this goes underneath the cam bridge. I think I might have this backwards right now, but I'll look to double check. But this, you'll notice it definitely because 2 of the head bolts are kind of sitting under this. So that's when I realized, like, oh wait, there's 10 head bolts. This probably isn't connected to anything, and then I just pulled it out. So yeah, this is right underneath here. And then I don't know, I think we caught this in the video, but if not, these are all numbered. So you don't, I mean, you can use a paint pen and do all that stuff. That's one thing. I knew I was forgetting something. I meant to grab a paint pen when I was at Walmart this morning. You can use a paint pen to label them, but I mean, it's pretty easy if you just look at the numbers, and the notches tell you the orientation. So the notches should be facing outwards of the cylinder head on each side. So exhaust faces towards the passenger fender, and driver side towards the driver side fender, or intake side towards the driver side fender. So yeah, we got everything we need. I did get some coolant as well. It's out in the car. I'll go get that later once we're at a much later step than we will be right now. And then you'll also need to refill a little bit of oil. We probably lost, I don't know, maybe 1/2 quart, if that, just from everything draining from the valve covers and things like that. Over time, it created 2 little puddles on each side of the motor. So yeah, I'll be sure to fill it up before we go for our first startup. There is something that I kind of knew about, but wasn't worrying about at first, but I will have it done. You're supposed to do a camshaft learning process after you do anything where you take apart camshafts or take them out. So
that's something that needs to be done. It can be done with Star, DOS, Zentry, or the high-end Autel scanners like the MaxiSys 906, 908s, I don't know. But luckily, shout out to JB from Park Place Limited. He said it's no issue if I swing by, he'll let me use the Autel scanner on Monday and do the relearn process. So as long as everything starts up fine and works fine, then it shouldn't be a problem just cruising it around until then. I know some people never do the camshaft relearn process, but yeah, this is a car we want to keep and I want to do it properly, so I will do that on Monday. Today is Saturday, so fingers crossed. We'll see how far we can get today, and if need be, then we'll finish up tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's a Super Bowl, so we got plans around then, but I'll probably do another early morning. It's like 7 right now. Tomorrow, depending on how far we get today. So yeah, I guess enough talking. Let's get back to it. There's the old head bolts. Got the other set ready to go. And for the most part, I remember what's going on in this pile of mess. So yeah, I guess the saga continues. Let's go. All right guys, checking back in. I decided I'm gonna do the cam adjusters first. So I'm doing the exhaust side right now. Now, one thing I wanted to mention as well, be careful with the adjuster plates because they are dependent on if they're too different for intake versus exhaust. So we'll see and compare once we get into this thing. But I just put the urethane protectors on the vise, towels as well, locked it down, and these are all T30. I cracked them loose one at a time and then just spun them out with the Milwaukee real quick. So yeah, these are what the bolts look like. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was like 10 foot-pounds, 12 Newton meters or something to put these back together, but I'll verify once we get to that stage. But yeah, we'll just pull these out now and go ahead and take this thing out and see the insides. It's not too intricate. There is the only small pieces, there's a little spring inside and there is a little plastic retainer or a little like plastic piece. So you got to pay attention to those, and then also of course watch for the pin. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing out of here. I'll separate it and explain. All right guys, so here we are. Just pulled the plate off. You can notice the little plastic retainer actually stuck to the plate, so be careful with that when you remove. And there's the spring. So I'm basically just paying close attention and recording this so I can look back on it of where everything goes. I'll probably take pictures as well in between, so yeah, I know where everything is gonna sit. This one is the one that they smeared a bunch of silicone on accident when they were doing the valve cover after the PPI. So there's a bit of silicone stuck in here, so probably a good thing I'm taking it apart, make sure it's not everywhere. All right, first one opened up. This one you can see has a little bit of wear on the opening hole right there. We'll take a closer look in a second, but I'm just recording where the part numbers are in comparison to where this is sitting. There's the old pin and the kind of star wheel right there. So yeah, let's take this apart further. All right, so here's everything spread apart kind of in order. So this came out first, and then this goes on top of here, that goes on top of here. And here you can see it is in fact just different between exhaust and intake. I can show you guys that in a second, but you can see the spacing between basically the centering pin and where the actual adjuster pin goes is basically one bolt apart. And then for the intake side, the adjuster pin and the locating pin are in between those two bolts. So there they are. That's both of the intakes, and then here's the other exhaust. So not all four different, and just different between intake and exhaust, not by the bank. So I figured that's what it is, but you know, I don't know, never done this before, so good to know that now. All I need to do is get everything cleaned up, at least get like, I'm guessing this is silicone residue, so I'm gonna try to get that out of here at least, clean it all up, and then put everything back together with oil as I'm going. And I think I'm supposed to clean these off as well. I don't know if this is oil or like assembly lube on here, but I think it did mention to clean them off first and then reassemble with engine oil. So yep, as soon as I got the old pin out and the old spring, I just put them in the box so that I know I'm not reusing them. So this is the new pin, and I put the plastic dowel and the spring over there on the front plate and exactly where it was when I take it off, so I know where it's going. So yeah, here we go. All right guys, the adjuster is about to be put back together with all the bolts, but one clarification, I think I was talking about this on the video, but the springs are a little bit different between the ones that came out and the ones from the 63 everything kit. But again, they came through with customer support and answered right away. I messaged them a question, and these are basically the size and tension of the 2011 revision springs, so that's why they are different. So yeah, I definitely wanted to get clarification before I move forward, and they were super quick. So yeah, if you notice that while you're doing it, don't be scared. And a quick tip, when you're putting them back together, you can put 2 bolts in. I saw this from Daniel I on YouTube. Really nice video of disassembly and reassembly, but put 2 of them in. That way you can Loctite these 3 and then take these 2 out and Loctite those and put them back in. Now I'm going to torque them down to 18 Newton meters, or that's 13 foot-pounds, I believe. All right, and while I'm going to rebuild this other adjuster, Mike is taking out the old lifters. Everyone specifies you're supposed to use a suction cup, but I just watched a video with Tazos, who's the master of these, and he used a magnet. So I'm comfortable using a magnet, just pull them right out. So that's what the actual compression and spring, where the valve retainers and stuff live. That's what it looks like underneath. And here's a used one that got pulled out, and there's the new ones. All right, Mike's ingenuity strikes again. No, we needed something to turn the camshafts, because the intake one, if you want to lay it in so it goes in easy, it's going to be basically sitting the same direction as the intake, and they're supposed to be, once they're set up, should be like opposite basically, or close to it. So we just put the old bolts back in. I'm not going to reuse these because we have the ARP ones and a socket so that it doesn't go too far into the camshaft. I was spinning it, and then Mike caught the back bracket in where it needed to be. We had to straighten that one out, by the way. I've heard that a lot from the cheap tools because it was bent after we initially had taken them out. So yeah, seems to be in place now. So I'll make sure the front tool can lock up, and then get everything ready to put the cam adjusters back on. Well guys, I came back for a second round after I went to my brother-in-law's birthday party this afternoon. Came back today around 9:30 or so. It's now 11. There's a lot that I got to catch you up on tomorrow morning, but I'm tired right now, so I will update you guys with all that stuff in the morning. There was a lot. There were some roadblocks we had to get over. Partly my doing, partly just, this is all new, trying to figure it out. So yeah, I'll check back with you guys tomorrow morning.
And just like that, we're back. Good morning. Lots to update you guys on. First off, you can see we're about ready to button this side up. Just need to torque these bolts, the ARP bolts. The design is a little bit different on these, so don't be scared. The shoulder on the head of the bolt is smaller in diameter. And I think the reason they did that was to allow easier oil passage through one of the holes on these front timing pieces. So yeah, these get torqued down to 85 foot-pounds, I believe. I'm gonna double check right now to confirm, but when you're doing that, gotta have these timing tools on. We have all three of them on right now. One lock bar in the back, front lock bar, bridge, and this one ready to be used. So I gotta put some bolts into here so it stays put while we're doing this, just in case, but should be pretty solid. The key thing is there's no way, besides the way these spinning portions are oriented right now, that this can sit flush. So you basically have to have it correct in order to sit flush, otherwise it won't work. But definitely take pictures when you first pull everything apart. It's not the exact same as the other side, so you can't just look at this side and, you know, mirror it. So take pictures. I should have had the paint pen from the beginning, so I could have marked everything easy, but it's all right. Everything went back together. So yeah, I'm gonna mark a few things down. These are all the cam caps are all torqued, so I'll mark those just so we know. But right now I'm gonna go ahead and crank down both of these bolts to the proper torque, and then we're finally moving on to the driver's side. And I guess thankfully we have all the experience that we collected off of this side, so fingers crossed we somewhat know what to do now, and it should make things move a little quicker as far as time and be a little less scary. So yeah. All right, driver's side is ready to get undone here. I did make the wiser move this time and use a paint pen. I also marked intake and exhaust on the cam adjusters so I don't get things mixed up. But the way we laid out everything over here, we'll be able to keep track of it. But yeah, if you ever forget, mine's hard to tell because they're pretty worn off, but the intake's supposed to have a blue line and the exhaust yellow for kind of hot and cold. So you can always verify. There's the blue line on that one. But yeah. What else are we ready for now? I'm gonna undo the cam phaser bolts. Front bridge is on. The back tool, remember on this side, it seems like one of these is a little bit off by like a couple thousandths. So this back bar won't fit in the back. So what we're gonna do is undo these, get the cam adjusters off, and then I might even do the trick that we did with the bolts before taking the bridge off. I think I'm gonna try to spin the camshaft so we can lock that plate in. We'll see, actually. I don't know. I think we might have to, just because it'll make it easier getting the bridge off without the cams like totally rolling on us. So we'll see. All right, guys, the driver's side is out. Remember, we couldn't get that lock plate in the back, so what we did is kept the front bridge lock and loosened up all of the cam caps instead of leaving the back one in, taking the front bridge off, and then like letting them spin before. We just undid the tension, and that worked. Differences on this side, this piece is not floating like the other side. The head bolts are accessible. They're not like underneath it like it was on the passenger bank. But besides that, everything is pretty much the same. I didn't look at the lifters yet.
these ones, oh yeah, that one's got the same, probably can't see it from here, but there's an X in the middle. That one, same thing on the passenger side was like that too. All the rest of them look pretty good. Maybe this one a little bit, line in the middle. Anyways, continuing on. Alright guys, sorry we didn't show you any of the process, but I'm superstitious, so I just wanted to get the head bolts out and replaced, and I update you guys. So all the new ones are in now. This side is actually cleaner than the passenger side. There was only one of them that really had any like somewhat bad corrosion, but it's not even bad. It's just a little bit more, but the rest of them look very clean. Pretty much all look like this, so these would have survived for a long time, but who would have known that? Nobody. So there's so many variations. The more I read on the forums, there's so many variations of like, or ideas of what Mercedes was doing about this problem behind the scenes, changing. I know like some of these have a T55, some of them have a T60, some of them have a different rust coating on them or whatever it is, corrosion resistant coating. So I think there's many revisions, so it's kind of hard to tell like what car got what. So yeah, those are done though. We're gonna put the cams back in once we get this all prepped, put the new lifters in, and then today's Sunday is Super Bowl, so we got plans with family in a little bit once the game starts. So I'll try to get all this back in, and then I'll come back later tonight and rebuild the adjusters and set up all that, and then fingers crossed, once that's all done, we can start buttoning everything back up. But check in with you in a bit. Cams are in, torqued, everything's ready to go. We just got to spin them so we can get the back locking plate once we're ready. But yeah, we made very good time today, much more efficient than yesterday, thankfully. If I get time tonight after the Super Bowl is over, then I would like to come back here to button everything up and potentially get it ready to start and see what's going on. But if not, then I'll probably come back tomorrow evening. Either way, it'll be like 5 seconds for you guys. So I'll check you in a bit. And as we're going through the video, I apologize, this is not like an actual DIY. I wasn't really interested in doing a proper DIY for a head bolt change on M156 because it's a very extensive project, but hopefully some of the stuff I've shared has been helpful at least. And I feel like I have a good memory of the process now and a good amount learned that if you ask questions below, I'm pretty sure I can find an answer for you from what you'll need to know to do the stuff that I did, the cams, or I mean, sorry, cam buckets, head bolts, the plates on the cam adjusters, and all the torque specs and stuff like that. So feel free to comment below as we're going through this video. This is a long video, so if you can see this part, cool. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in 5 digital seconds. Well guys, you remember how I chose to do the life hack of finding my own bolts for the cam adjusters when we were buttoning everything up? We noticed, you can probably see, there's a gap on the last backlash gear. And you can kind of tell that it gets closer further away from this edge that it gets. And the reason that's happening is because those hardware bolts are about 1 millimeter or less longer because of a not rounded off bottom end. I'm not defeated, but
I am super disappointed right now. I'm very glad we caught it, so I can't be too mad, because that would have really sucked to, I mean, you can imagine these are supposed to move independently, and if they were trying to move and weren't able to because those bolts are touching, that would be very bad news. So it's better that we get this solved. Luckily, this piece doesn't really sit on the camshaft at all, so it's not like being pressed into the other part, fortunately. Otherwise, when we torqued them down right now, that could have been bad by itself, but luckily it kind of floats. The camshaft actually sits on the inner bore of this gear, so not having done anything and started the motor and done all that stuff, just pulling them off right now, they should be fine. So for the record, these bolts are 6mm by 1.0 by 34mm, not 35, 34. So I might be placing an order again with 63 everything for the titanium bolts that he sells. Yes, I think titanium is a little bit overkill for my application in general, but having the exact right bolts, because these are kind of tough to find. My option otherwise would be buying another set of these and rounding them off so that they're, you know, at 34, but that's time consuming itself. They also have terrible heads on them, or as far as, you know, having the 4mm heads. So it's going to be time to grind them all down. So I have to also calculate my time, not just the cost of buying the bolts. And it's kind of a one-time buy. So I may just do that. But man, this sucks. I'm not going to lie. It's, you win some, you lose some. We made a small failure, but we need to correct it so that we don't create a actual major failure. So like I said, very thankful we caught it, but bummed out. I thought we were getting ready to button things up. So it's okay. I get some more practice. So it is late. I stayed out late on a work night, hoping to get this thing closed so I could button everything up tomorrow, but it's not going to happen anymore. I'm probably going to have to wait till this Saturday to go through all this stuff again. So bear with me, guys. I'm happy to be sharing this all with you, but damn, I really thought we were getting close here. I'm missing this vehicle right now. I've only been able to drive it a handful of times, and I really want to drive it again. So hopefully Godspeed to this project. Fingers crossed. See you guys in a few days, I'm sure. What's going on, you guys? Checking back in after last time's disappointment. Luckily, I now have the correct cam adjuster bolts. Shout out to 63 everything again. Got these shipped over pretty fast from Canada. They're the titanium ones. They're T30, and they're pretty much exactly the same as factory. Yes, in my situation for a stock power M156, maybe a little bit overkill, but so what? At least, you know, they'll work, and if I ever needed to rebuild them for whatever reason, I don't have to worry about replacing these bolts. So where we left off, basically we're gonna have to pull all 4 of the cam adjusters off to be safe, because like we saw, this one is definitely way too far out as far as clearance goes between the backlash gear and the bigger gear. So the other ones all look fine, but as I look closer, I kind of see like some discrepancies a bit. So I'm guessing that probably numerous bolts from those ones we used are just going a millimeter too far and pressing on that back plate, and that is not good news. So we need to get these out of here. It's another good thing I got the ARP bolts, because we're going to be undoing these again. Those are lifetime, so I don't have to worry about undoing them. I'm going to go ahead
and mark everything up paint pen wise to just put it back to how we have it right now, since I know everything is good. We'll still have to use a timing tool, of course, but at least we'll have some nice fresh paint marks where everything has left off. So here we go. All right, guys, all 4 are all buttoned up. Timing is set, probably better than it was the first time. So the tools are officially going back in the box, and I am very, very relieved to see these back in here. So moving on, I think I'm ready to start buttoning everything back up. I'm gonna go ahead and install the spark plugs now. Torque for those is 22 Newton meters, I believe. I'll double check, but I'm gonna go ahead and install those before I put the valve covers on, and then I'll get the valve covers prepped. And man, we are getting there little by little. These are gonna have to go on. That's gonna be a little tricky like it was getting them off, and I'm gonna have to figure out where exactly all these different size bolts go. I know the smaller ones are for the grounds, but there are a couple different sizes in here, most likely for the brackets. But yeah, I'll be busy trying to figure out where everything's gonna go. All right, guys, we're wrapping it up tonight. It's a little past midnight, but we made lots of progress. Front covers are back on. Those are really a pain in the ass, especially the driver's side. It's just, yeah, trying to get the little bolts on at the bottom is difficult, to say the least. So just time consuming. But yeah, I'm gonna come back fresh in the morning and we'll finish up the rest of these steps. I was hoping to get it done tonight, but there's no point in pushing another hour or two. I'll just come back early tomorrow. So valve cover, plugs, or the coil packs, plug wires, spark plugs already in, pulley, drive belt, plug up all these, bracket that goes right here, and then yeah, coolant and intake, all that good stuff, and yeah, we'll be going from there. What's going on, you guys? The next morning, and hopefully the last day to start finally buttoning this job up. I'm at Costco right now in the W124, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the W124 because it has been our exclusive parts runner vehicle this whole time. And she just rolled over 180,000 miles, so little milestone completed. All right, guys, I've been working away at this thing. I got the pulley back on. That idler pulley that sits above the crank pulley is torqued down to 20 Newton meters. It's 50 or T50 torques on it. And then the bolt for the tensioner is a 17 millimeter. I just put a breaker bar on it, and then I used a bigger bar to push it down. And re-oiled the cams just because they've been sitting for a while, and I also put a little Mobile 1 on them as well, the camshaft, or I mean the assembly lube. Both of these front covers are tightened up. Now I'm going to put the valve covers on and button those up, get the coil packs on, everything plugged in, air intake system, and then fill up the coolant, and fingers crossed after that. Okay, all right, guys, this is butterflies in my stomach time. It looks like we got everything buttoned up. I've tried to backtrack and think back to all the things we're supposed to do. Everything's back together. Now it's just fingers crossed, and I need to prime it a few times because I did change the injectors out before doing this job since it last started up. So I need to get fuel up, and we'll bleed the coolant as we're going. And that's about it. I'm nervous, but excited. Here, you're gonna hold this here. Will you listen?
What's that?
Sorry. Alright guys, I am going through a kind of different RPM procedure. I've been idling it between, or not idling it, but revving it between like 2,000, 2,500 for about 5 minutes. And every once in a while I'll bring it back down to idle and just make sure we're not hearing anything, but fingers crossed, so far so good. And just burning off a bunch of the oil that had fallen from the valve covers being off, but yeah, it's doing well. Alright guys, here she is idling. Coolant is all topped up. Seems to be idling well. It's burned off most of that oil now. Still a little bit coming from this backside, but should be good. What's going on, you guys? Jumping in probably at a random time in the video, but I'm at the last step right now, which is a camshaft positioning relearn procedure. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out real quick to Park Place Limited, and specifically my buddy JB for letting me borrow their auto unit. This is a MaxiSys 980S. It's the wireless one. I've never used this, so I'm trying to figure it out as I go, but yeah, we'll plug the car in right now and try to figure out if we can get to that menu for the relearn procedure. All right, so I'll try to back out of this menu so I can show you guys the exact steps to get to this, but I ended up finding it, luckily, teaching of the camshaft positions. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this now, see what it has me do. Turn on the ignition, engine is not running, vehicle at standstill, shift lever in position or neutral, engine coolant, accelerator is not operated, actual values. Okay, next. Press OK button to start process. Increase engine speeds to 2,700 to 35. Maintain for. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'll press OK. And then I need to teaching process was successful. Cool. Simple. Man, really relieved. That's awesome. All right, let me go ahead and back out of the menu and I will show you guys. Yeah, once I got into the vehicle, went to diagnosis, control unit, drive. Let's see, went to the motor. And then control unit adaptations, learning processes, whatever you want to call them, and then teaching cam position sensors. So that wasn't bad at all. This is a really cool tool. I wish I had one of these. They're quite expensive, but really cool tool to have. And hopefully I'll be able to acquire something like this someday for myself and for all the vehicles. So yeah, huge shout out again to JB. Very thankful to have connected with him. I've been coming to this shop for years when the manager, Adam, was still here and JB took over for Adam. And they're both just like as stand-up as you could be in this industry. Super transparent, super easygoing, helpful, friendly, like everything you could ask for in an industry like this. And to be like that and work at a shop that deals with the level of like high-end cars that they do, I just feel like that's so rare. Like you can't find people like that at even tiny shops, and this is a shop that deals with extremely rare and expensive vehicles, and they've just always been the most down-to-earth and nice and affordable too, which is crazy. Like their rates are super reasonable and they always do great work. So yeah, just huge shout out. Thank you so much, JB. Thank you, Park Place. Really appreciate it. You guys know it's the only shop I will go to if it's not something I do for myself on the cars, which is rare, but it does come up here and there. And this is the second time I've had a PPI done with them, and they really helped me make a good buy on both cases. So thank you guys. So just to give you guys an idea, like I said, about the stuff they work on, I mean, it's pretty insane when you look at all the different stuff here. And it's an eclectic mix too. Like, there's not just one thing or the other. They work on everything. So yeah, favorite shop for sure in my area. All right, now that job is officially complete, and we'll go ahead back to me at the garage as we just wrapped up the job. We did it! Woo! Big thanks to this guy for being the best mechanic out there, and the only way I would have confidence to do something like this. So Mike, the legendary mechanic, strikes once again. But yeah, this is a gigantic video, so should probably wrap it up soon. I'll catch you guys in the next one on the update of how everything is going. But man, I'm really happy. This was such a huge undertaking and an awesome accomplishment. A lot of learning involved, and it took much longer than expected just because of little errors here and there and waiting on parts. But I'm so thankful to all that were involved. There's lots of people involved with helping me with this. So thank you, everyone. And yeah, checking out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace. Alright guys, first time this guy's seeing the new truck.
I'm going in this one, Maze.
You wanna see? Here, give me the key. Where's the key? Press the button, look. Look. Is that cool?
Whoa. You gonna get inside?
Look, your seat's in here too. You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, let's go. Oh,
Is it
yeah.
a nice truck? Huh, baby?
You like it?
Oh, yep.